We witness end of the Ukraine. Zelensky, what is right here? This is what will destroy Ukraine. This is what already is taking Ukraine down. It's all about the peace talks. That's what this is all about. There is no talk about anymore, no Crimea and Donetsk and so on. It's all about the so-called peace talks. Zelensky created the preconditions for the peace talks that I think Russia frankly can fart on it. They have no reason for any kind of peace talks because Donetsk and Crimea, based on what we see, it will be Russia, you know. There's no, I don't understand really, for these negotiations to take place, Zelensky is not even necessary over there. Zelensky is an individual whom I have addressed as a Mariupol butcher. And you know, I did rightfully so. I did rightfully so. What you need to know about the steel factory Azovstal, and I did watch the videos about it just to see faces. This here, the stuff that you see right there, I do not recall. However, there were several of these Ukrainians, defenders of the Azovstal, some of which have also video recorded themselves and so on, that were involved in MK Ultra. And what I want to tell you about is something else. These people met with Vladimir Putin before the war. These people, together with Zelensky, have coordinated defense of the Azovstal factory, something that would put Ukrainians on the map, like in a sense of defiance, and you know, they would portray themselves going down like a heroes, you know, going down like a heroes. These heroes who obtained immunity personally from the Vladimir Putin, not difficult to tell, are infiltrators. And what you would do is you would use the infiltrators to mix them with other people that are not acquainted with but are extremely pro-Ukrainian and will not let the Russian go centimeter past Ukrainian border without challenging them. And so what they did was, in those final hours, in those crucial hours, these infiltrators have proven to the real Ukrainian defenders to be crucial for their survival through surrender. And that's why I call the Vladimir Zelensky butcher of Mariupol. He did the same thing with other cities. Negotiated with Vladimir Putin using his own infiltration groups to steer the people, the pro-Ukrainian, real Ukrainian people, into the surrender under the special circumstances. Now the rest of it you already know. Some of the Ukrainian defenders returned without the internal organs, others in a body bags. And third, they can tell you about the hell. They don't get to see the daylight when it comes to the internet, Google algorithm. They endured in the Russia. We live in the bubble. We will get to this stuff. If I were Ukrainian president, the first thing I would order is detonation of one Russian city through the nuclear arsenal. This would be my way to negotiate the peace with the Russians. And under no other terms. I would, however, not do this if I would not have at least 50 nukes already. And you go, oh, you're crazy. Yes, I am. I am completely crazy. Completely crazy. To understand me, you have to look at this thing here. To understand where I am coming from, you have to look at this thing here. Donald Trump, Greenland. Donald Trump personally told me, Donald Trump personally told me during MK Ultra, he will do this to Greenland. In other words, the Greenland people decide, no, we don't want to be part of the United States. We're okay here. We don't want. We want our autonomy and Denmark and so on. We don't want anything to do with the United States of America. The one who supported the plan with the United States of America was a queen of Denmark. Interchange between the United States of America, trade, Denmark back and forth, and finally vanish this Greenland natives, basically. It goes to the time, if you think I'm crazy, it goes to the time when psychiatrist Tatjana Prokšul, Serbian psychiatrist here from Novo Mesto, insisted clearly, based on my recordings, nothing was wrong with me during my visits to her, yet she insisted that I would not know what day it is, not that what day it is, but yeah, she also wrote that kind of stuff, that I am, it was disoriented. She insisted that she just started to see things that did not exist. You know, schizophrenia is something that you see that doesn't exist. Well, perfectly sane, I reported myself to the psychiatrist here in Novo Mesto, who started after the conversation, which was completely immaculate based on the recordings. Donald Trump took those recordings to the US, and they listened to those, they have them translated, and figure out that this psychiatrist was doing to me was, you talk to the person, absolutely everything normal, and in the end of this meeting you will start to write as a psychiatrist a note that he acted, I don't know, strangely, that his language is not, I don't know how you say it, maybe in English, eloquent, is not properly, is not proper, is that it's like, you know, stressed out all over the place, that kind of stuff. And that's what Donald Trump told me he will do to Greenland. He will just continue like a psychiatrist to talk about, they will continue, no, we don't want you, this and that, and he will continue to talk how we will make you rich, we will make you wealthy, very soon you're going to be free, and so on, in that sense. And that's basically why I stated earlier about what my presidential campaign in Ukraine would look like. My presidential campaign would start with detonation of one Russian city, one big city. One city would be erased from the face of the earth. So just that the Russians would pay attention to the peace negotiations. The peace negotiations for Ukrainian, for the real Ukrainian, are very, very clear. You get the fuck out of Ukraine, or it's going to be another city blown up. Or if you will return back, there will be 10 Russian cities that are gonna fucking smoke. This is the peace negotiations. This is a real peace negotiations. Now, Vladimir Zelensky knew all about that. In a previous video, I stated about the city Rostov-on-Don as the one responsible for complete takedown of Ukraine. A single one city. Administrative unit where Ukrainians from Crimea are sentenced to death, literally accused of the terrorism, whatever, together with the Tatar, Ukrainian, whatever you want to call this, I call them Ukrainians anyways, delivered to Rostov-on-Don, trialed at some kind of authority, and then basically make disappear, killed, whatever they do with them. So the people can read, like, you know, there's like, you know, you have it summoned, you know, to the law, you know, to your London or Rome or wherever. Now you will be trialed and you will be killed and so on. You know, and people read this shit and start to lose the perception about really what's going on with it. Watch that video about the Rostov-on-Don. Now Zelensky argued with me that Rostov-on-Don plan which I proposed for the Rostov-on-Don to make sure that Rostov-on-Don would become Ukrainian city during MK Ultra, initially have supported. But then sooner or not, Zelensky and Ukrainian Rada found many ways around in case of war on Ukraine. And destroyed a lot of people that supported my things, that have seen themselves in me, claiming that, yeah, but you know, the first people that, Rostov-on-Don, the Rostov-on-Don, the first people, the original people from Rostov-on-Don were very nice with you, they were very kind with you. Yes, there were a few people that were very nice with me, the so-called old Russian old settlers. But it was the Russian Adolf Hitler, Vladimir Putin, who made sure that, I'm saying Adolf Hitler because the world is more familiar with a Hitler than with the man who created Hitler. The man who created Hitler was Adolf Stalin, yes, Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was not even such a big deal, really. The world is so disinformed, so we will get to this. This is a psychiatric video. This is a specialized into psychiatry video. Figure out that the old settlers must go from Rostov-on-Don and must be replaced with the new settlers from Russia, and started to import Russians from other parts of the Russia that were willing to kill Ukrainians at all costs. No, not the old settlers. Let me explain to you something. The old settlers of Rostov-on-Don, Russians, some of them have seen themselves in Ukraine, in West. This is what they claimed. But Rostov-on-Don is the city that destroyed Ukraine. This is the city that have stolen the Black Sea coastline from Ukrainians, and from the Sochi all the way to Ukraine to Kherson. Entire coast with the Azov, nothing there ever was Russian. Everything was stolen literally through the Rostov-on-Don. So Putin learned about that he needs to purge, that he needs to clean the city, that needs to turn one into the Russian bastion, and to make things even worse, to turn Ukrainians against Rostov-on-Don, and the Rostov-on-Don citizens against Ukraine even further, if that was necessary. You see, this is the issue I don't like to argue. This is the issue that Zelensky needed. Zelensky needed to portray all this between, in the Russian side, a struggle between good and evil. Then Zelensky proceeded with a theory, which is not a theory, it's a fact, that on the other side of every time we're going to put this map, ethnic map, on the map, in front of the Rada people, he was doing this, in front of his Malarusiska Kievska Rada, Malarusiska Duma in Kiev. He started to insist every time he's going to put this map about the ethnic composition and so on. It will remind me how many of our people are on the other side of the border and why we shouldn't attack the other side of the border and so on and so forth. So Zelensky went and he buried French. He buried all others that have seen themselves instead in my plan. That's a basically complete takeover of Rostov-on-Don and all along the Don, a nice little pocket back to Ukraine, basically. The stuff that you see on the map. Past the Russian border, simple as that. If there be war, if there be problem, the war was. Because I was tortured. I'm 2,000 kilometers from Russian border. And my being hijacked and tortured throughout the Russia, including on Norwegian. I have this beautiful video about this island, which is located not too far from Nova Zemlya. It's called Svalbard Island. And then there is a Russian city. The Russians purchased the rights to some mine in this Svalbard. And turn one into also a little city where it is. Enormous torture went on there. Enormous torture with my schoolmates, 4th grade, 3rd grade from the grammar school, 10 years old, 11 years old children watching me being tortured in the Northern Sea, in the Atlantic, with Russians insisting me with a boat which they called an ambulance boat, a psychiatry, when I was a child. All the way to the Tsarigrad, Istanbul. You're gonna say that's a Turkey, yes. That's where the Serbs used to have their own settlement, the Serbian settlement in Istanbul, a part of the city. In front of the eyes of the Turks, in front of the eyes of the Norwegians, and everything in between, Americans, Britons, and so on. A nuclear bombardment of the Russia is the one and only way, the only one and solution to deal with Donald Trump's, to deal with Vladimir Putin's. Without this solution, there will not be Ukraine. Today, you are thinking I am insane, that I am crazy. I would even say to you something else about the Rada, what I would do. But I will not, because I'm not going to get myself into the legal problems. Tomorrow, however, when you're going to be facing the 3rd invasion, you're going to start to see yourself more and more and more in me, and less and less and less in Zelensky, because you are losing your homes now. To make things even worse about it, this is about Ukraine, this is about entire Eastern Europe. And while I can understand that Ukrainians were not capable to develop cutting-edge tanks and other weaponry, I cannot understand that Ukrainians, Romanians, Polacks, Bulgarians, Czechs, Slovaks, and all others in Eastern Europe were not capable to develop nuclear bomb. Simple fucking nuclear bomb. In this age, in this era, in 2025, to be, for a country like Ukraine, to be without 50 nuclear bombs, it's really a crime against humanity. You will see the 3rd war on Ukraine, when Ukraine is going to perish, it's going to be more bloody, it's going to be worse. But with that being said, Zelensky needs to catch the plane to nowhere, it's called Riyadh, and continue his so-called peace negotiations, and you already know exactly what that means. So, like my president of Slovenia, respected UDBA, communist, as they declare themselves. They don't have nothing common with the communism, but nobody protests to this anyways. Natasha Pirc-Musar would state, so, the Russia will win. No. The Russia will not win. Germany will win. America will win. Britain will win. Colonial France will win. Colonial Italy will win. Russia, for those of you in Africa, in South America, in Asia who did not know, was by far bloodier, worse than Germany and Britain, and more bloodthirsty, and France and Italy and Spain and all these countries together. That cannot be true. That is fucking true. You look at the fucking map and go to the Sakhalin, go to the eastern part of the Russia. There was a river of blood of the natives, of the Koreans, of these people, Mongolian, Korean, Chinese population that they slaughtered en masse. They burned their way from the European part, Moscow, through Siberia to the other side of the ocean, Pacific, all the way to Alaska, where they slaughtered people on such a mass scale that is written in the books that the rivers even turn red. You know, you people have a great misconception. Russians are beasts. What makes Russia strong is bestiality, is the thirst for blood, eagerness for bloodbath. That's what makes the Russia strong. Russia never was a Soviet Union. This is the biggest misconception based on which the modern world is completely confused about this stuff. Well, the first thing that it comes to mind is Russia, Soviet Union. No, this is just precisely not the case. Soviet Union was Ukraine. Ukraine was a Soviet Union. Ukraine was a Soviet Union. Kazakhstan was a Soviet Union. Go and see the Soviet republics to see what made the Soviet Union. Soviet Union had 350 million people, I think. I'm mistaken about that. Could be well 250. 285 million people. There is only 140 million Russians, and those are not Russians. Of those 140 million citizens in Russia, there are not 140 million Russians. So it's a big misconception. It's a tremendous misconception when you consider, when you have feeling, when you feel, well, you know, Soviet Union, that's a Russia. No. Maybe the white Russians are maybe 120 million, maybe even less than that. The rest of the Soviet Union was the rest of it was non-Russian. So from 285, if you subtract 120, the numbers about 160 something plus million people. At least 165 million people that were of non-Russian origins inside of the Soviet Union. You have a big misconception. You talk about the Soviet Union in Africa, Russia, Soviet Union. Russians are gonna fucking bloodbath you like they did Syria and everything else. They're gonna fucking massacre you over there like they did people in Srebrenica. Their own people here, Serbs, between the Serbs and the Bosnian people. They can't wait to get knives on you and slit your throats and make your rivers red. By far the bloodthirstiest country in the world is Russia. Whether you like to admit this or not, but I'm gonna say to you something more about it. Americans don't mind this. This kind of spirit that you are creating with the support for the Russia, wherever you are, it's a karma bitch that will bite back. As much as insane as it might sound that it's necessary to nuke the Russian city and under this kind of terms commence the peace negotiations, because the Russians don't know any other. They're barbarians. They're animals. Provenly, they are animals. It is the only solution, not for Ukraine only, definitely for entire Eastern Europe, but also for entire world. As much as you want to think I'm crazy, it's something wrong with me and so on, watch what the next war is going to look like on Ukraine, thanks to the people like Zelensky. As far as the Joseph Stalin was nothing special. People talk about Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin declared the war. He had a war, and with Finland, he destroyed the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and on. Did a massive killing through Ukraine, Holodomor, killed a lot of people. Made handshake with Ribbentrop, and divide Poland on half. created incredible circumstances for Adolf Hitler. That's why I told you, Germans, Americans, and British, they don't mind your fucking Russia that you like so much in Africa and in Asia. They don't mind. Quite contrary. That's what brought Hitler, and that's what brought, in case of Barack Obama, Donald Trump on the stage. Before Joseph Stalin, you know, honestly, before Joseph Stalin, there were other figures in the Russia, as I suggested. They slit throats to people through entire Asia, all the way to Pacific and beyond. Asia to the Northern American continent. This is one of the most blood-sucking, murderous people on earth. The difference is, the West went on to civilize itself because they did very bad stuff in America. They killed a lot of natives. They exterminated people on a mass scale on American continent. They did tremendous stuff in Africa, King Leopold and so on. The thing about it is that Stalin was not the first one. This was just happened to be so that it was one guy by the name Joseph Stalin. If Joseph Stalin wouldn't do it, if somebody else would have done it. One time Russians were civilized is when they bleed shit, when they bleeded during Romanov Empire issues, Romanovs, when they didn't have for the food, not even for the shoes in snow. Lenin, one time Russia was really had his face, and this is what the Soviet legacy was founded on. One time it really was like this, but everybody changed its views and is searching toward work with other people. Russians do not give a fuck. Russians didn't change even a little bit. What makes Russia strong is a bloodthirst. What makes the Russia strong is a zest to kill, to murder, to torture, and so on and so forth. And that's how they got the Russia into this trap. When West started to bargain with Russia through me, using me, it was clear to them that they're dealing with the barbarians, that they're not dealing with the civilized people, that they are actually dealing with the animals. And that was completely evident based on the torture that the Russians performed on me. They clearly could see that they were, obsessed with the violence. That some nations, that just they could not resist to violence. That's something I tested when I was a baby in Syria, let's say, and in other parts of Arabic world, I'm gonna say. Something that I tested also in Asia and so on. A bait that was simply impossible to say no and go your way. This is what I was. So I know something about this because I was used as a bait to bait them into this stuff. That's Russia. That's a Russia. So you think I might be fucking crazy? I don't mind, because tomorrow you're gonna see yourself in a craziness more and more and more if you want to leave. And if you not want to leave, then you're gonna settle for your negotiations, beautiful negotiations. It's gonna be beautiful Riyadh, I understand, a beautiful city in Saudi Arabia, magnificent. And you're gonna sit at the table and you're gonna start to discuss the so-called peace issues. And peace, as they say, and you know that very good, peace is war. War is peace. Russians know. Yes, if you want to leave, you're gonna simply have to be a barbarian, more than the Russians, I believe. I don't believe in equality. I don't believe that under this kind of circumstances you can play equality. I believe in equality, but not under this kind of circumstances. Not with the circumstances that involve barbarians, bloodthirsty barbarians. You're gonna fucking sit at the table and you're gonna start the fucking negotiations when you know tomorrow is gonna be more people killed throughout Ukraine, and consequently throughout the Eastern Europe, and consequently throughout the world, because this is the way it functions.